Kakadosh Boker or Bekiim Halacha 5, day 84, page 227, Siman Lametet, is Siman 39, Halacha Kav Zayin, which is Halacha 27. We're talking about when do you check the Tefilin. So, En Chiyuv Meikar Halacha Livdok Bechodesh Elul Tefilin. There's no chova. Meaning some people think, you have to check in Chodesh Elul. En chova, right? Meikar Adin, you do not have to do it. Minhag Chasidut is lachmim velebodkam bechol shana bechodesh Elul. There's a minhag Chasidut in order to come and to check. Look in 3:14. He says over there, the Yerushalmi brings a braita that according to Rabbi, right? He says tefillin parchments must be examined once every 12 months, and according to Rashbag, it is never necessary to have them examined. Hillel Zaken came and he declared, these tefillin belonging to my maternal grandfather. So the Mechilta at the end of Parashat Bo presents an opposing version, and it says that according to the Bet Hillel, they rule that tefillin must be every 12 months, since the Torah uses the expression yamim yamima. Yamim yamima is once a year, right? And Bet Shammai on the other hand say there's no obligation whatsoever. So Shammai and Hillel wants the right. That's the Shammai, and the Shammai was the one that said that these belong to my maternal grandfather. So we always follow Bet Hillel, not Bet Shammai. But according to this version, so what do you have to do then? So according to this version of the Talmud Yerushalmi, however, it was Hillel the elder who declared it, and not Shammai. Now, what about the Rishonim? So the Rambam says that if someone writes tefillin parchments for his own use, or if he purchases parchments written by an expert or from another person, but he's examined and then placed them into the tefillin houses, it is not necessary to have them examined again. Even if years have passed, we're talking about shanim. Okay, we need not fear that the letter became erased or other things like that. That is Shitat Rambam. So Shitat Rambam, even after Kama Shanim, don't worry about it. Next, Orchot Chaim. Orchot Chaim brings down the Mechilta, and he says that the Torah scholars of France would have their tefillin checked once annually. I discovered, right, the response from the Geonim, however, that if someone wears a tefillin all the time, it is unnecessary to have them examined, even after 50 years have passed. Since they are used regularly, the fresh air prevents the parchments from decaying inside the bottom, the batim. If someone wears the tefillin only occasionally, then they should, which means here you see the exact opposite. The more you use it, the less frequent you have to check the tefillin. Because if you're always using the tefillin, the air comes and is going to make sure that it doesn't get ruined inside of the batim. But if not, then no. So here, obviously, we're going to see that is the Rishonim. Now we're going to speak about the Acharonim, right? Right, so he says, the Achronim come and say, Knesset Gedolah comes and he says, and the Magen Avraham, that they knew of people who had their tefillin examined and discovered, right, the parchments were ruined because of the water's perspiration. Therefore, they strongly recommended that everyone should check his tefillin at least twice every 7 years. And this corresponds with the Shulchan Aruch's ruling that one should check mezuzot on the doors for that. The Rishon LeZion, he brings down the Matei Yehuda Yash, that tefillin cannot be compared to mezuzot. Tefillin are picked up and moved around all the time, and fresh air helps maintain them in good condition. Therefore, periodic examinations are not necessary. Mezuzot, however, you place them once, and then that's it. So the Rishon LeZion ruled that the Matei Yehuda's ruling is correct. And therefore, he paskins, just like the Matei Yehuda, you do not have to check it twice every 7 years, not like the mezuzah. Technically, especially since the Monukzi asserted that with our improved methods of constructing the tefillin, there's little concern that the parchments could become ruined by a person's perspiration. As a matter of Chasidut, however, it is correct, right, to have the tefillin examined annually during the month of Elul, following the advice of the Matei Ephraim. This is especially so in the times when many of the scribes, right, he says many of the scribes, right, are dealing with tefillin are not experts. So this recommendation of having the tefillin examined regularly is meant for those who have purchased their tefillin from an available dealer without ascertaining that how they were constructed. However, though, these people do not have to wait until Elul to have their tefillin examined, but rather they do have to do it at the first opportunity. Okay? So now he says, if someone purchases tefillin from a scribe, so let's say you bought it from a sofer, and he's known to be a Yireh Shamayim, there is no obligation to have them examined afterwards. So to minute and shum chova lavo ve'livdok et ze achar kach. You don't have to check it. Yeah, why? It comes from somebody Yireh Shamayim. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach asserted, right, that tefillin we use nowadays are constructed, right, in a manner far superior to those that the grandfathers used a century ago, and therefore, unless something happened, so then you don't need to use it. The opposite, to check it. On the contrary, the more you check your tefillin, the more likely it's going to become ruined. Okay, so a person should be careful. So one more time, the halacha said, "En chiyuv meikar halacha livdok bechodesh Elul et tefillin u'minhag chasidut." It's minhag chasidut, but there's no chova. Okay, he brings bizmanenu שרבו הספרים מגיעים שם מאוחרים כדי לנהל תפילין ומזוזות, וכמה פעמים נמצאו פיסולים באותיות שלהן, אם קנה תפילין ונדוע נעשו בכשרות, ראוי להחמיר. Obviously meaning that sometimes you come and you buy it in a store, or you buy it from a third party. So then there you should come and you should check it. Why? Because you don't know, right? Halacha kavchet. Im maniach et tefillin midei pam. What happens if you only put it on once in a while? Tzrichim bedika. Then you do need bedika. He says pam, right? He says midei pam. Tzrichim bedika pam bechol shalosh v'chetzi shanim. Meaning the exact opposite. If you put on tefillin every single day, and shum chova livdok et tefillin. But if you only put it on once in a while, you have to check it every 3.5 years. V'atam shekevan she'en manichin tadir ve'en avir sholet bahem. There's no avir which is sholet in them. So then chashinan, because of the lachut, the moisture which is going in, the ktiva is going to come and be mitkalkel. Ve'kol sheken im omdim b'makom lach. V'im en mi sheyachol levodkam. Okay, fine, but what happens if you don't have anybody to check them or to sew them? So you put them on without a beracha. You put them on without a beracha. Why? Maybe it's a problem. Yeah, right? Nafpam. Okay, the Meditei Yehuda comes and he debated among the occasionally regarding the halacha. Does it mean once a week, twice a week, once a month? Well, what does that mean? So he concluded one should examine the tefillin regularly unless he wears it every day. Yeah, that means if you're going to check if you're going to wear tefillin every day, there's no problem. But if not, you should check them regularly. The Yekut Yosef says that if someone does not wear tefillin regularly, but he leaves them in a cabinet for an extended period of time, he should have them examined once every 3.5 years. Right? So, for example, I've got that. I've got spare tefillin of a lefty. Right? When do I put them on? I don't remember. The last time I put it on was, I don't remember when. I don't even remember. So what happens? So that every 3.5 years, you have to check. Why? Because you don't actually use them. But if you're going to be using them, so then obviously you do not need to come and to check them.